right, and we're live here on the Rise and Above podcast with Lisa and Nini. How you guys doing today?
Excellent. How are you, David?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks again for joining me on the podcast. It's been 3 years.
Yeah, you were like I think you might have been the first podcast that we ever did. Back when we just had a pipe dream.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having us again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do have to kind of point out your video is lagging. So for the audience, hopefully there's no audio interruptions there. But
yeah, we apologize for that. It's just kind of the best that you can get in Antigua, but
yeah, Island life.
Way to brag.
Struggle is real.
Good weather, bad internet.
Now, you guys were on 3 years ago, and that was the start of the podcast almost. I think you guys were like maybe like somewhere in between episode 1 and 10. I don't remember exactly. But since then, what has been going on? Because I remember when we sat down before, you guys kind of told me about your pipe dream and how you planned on rowing the Atlantic a challenge, and then it was going to be like a 3,000-mile row. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So we, I can't remember if you got in touch with us or if we got in touch with you. But I first love that we've kind of been on this whole journey together, and we've all accomplished so much in those 3 years. But we were planning, and we were just kind of in the inception phase of Team Ocean Grown, which is Nini and I, who are female pairs ocean rowing team. And at that time, it was very much just a dream to row across the Atlantic. And then now
we've done it.
Yeah.
And we have not only accomplished that dream, but we set a world record in the process. So
amazing and insane, both at the same time.
Yeah. So, for anyone who doesn't know, back at that point, we were still very much in the start of sourcing our fundraising to make it to the start line. And that we learned was a challenge in and of itself. And from there, we were able to buy our boat, and we were training out of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And then it was in December of 2023, we started the race, leaving La Gomera, Spain in the Canary Islands and rowing, it's just under 3,000 nautical miles to English Harbor, Antigua. So
I have so many questions about the whole rowing thing, but I kind of want to back up and talk about why you guys wanted to do it and what the goal and purpose of it was.
Yeah, so going along, and part of the reason that we were obviously on your podcast is we had this massive goal to row across the ocean. Nini and I both are females who work in the professional sailing industry, which is how we met here in Antigua at the finish line of this race. And so after we both decided separately that we wanted to come together and be a team, we came up with a charitable aspect of our campaign, which is really cool and special, and has panned out more beautifully than we could have expected. So we decided to create the Bridges Over Water Scholarship Fund. So the fund is a maritime education scholarship for young adults who aged out of the foster care system. And so I myself was raised in care. I aged out, and then after trying to land on my feet in a few different ways, found myself in this sailing industry at age 19. Fast forward now, I'm 32. I'm the captain of a very pretty sailing yacht and have traveled through many countries and really just experienced a life that I never could have imagined. And so through our fund, we're going to be able to provide that same meaningful change for other young adults who grew up in care. And so we're really, really excited about the whole thing.
Now, do you find that being in that industry, it's very difficult for women to work in that industry? And are you and is it an industry where not many people get involved, period? Just doesn't matter what sex, male or female?
I would say that it depends kind of on what you're trying to do. Like, for instance, working as a captain, an engineer, or in roles that are kind of less commonly sought out by women. Obviously, we're in a day and age where there's like the turn of the tide with that, and you're finding more women in those roles, but it's still a little bit of a challenge to get there. But also with, there's a really great support network of women in the industry, and also just mentors that we've personally had in our lives who have helped us get to and achieve the positions that we were interested in achieving. So I think, again, like, it's less likely and or less common, but like growing for women. And yeah, it's really cool to be a part of like the forefront of women kind of turning the tide in the industry. And coming from a sailing background, we were really excited to take on this challenge as Ocean Rowers, and then also our Maritime Education Fund to take youth who have perhaps not even been in the maritime industry or the maritime sector. Like, I believe the second half of your question was kind of like, do you have to have that kind of experience to enter that kind of role? And I think the cool part about our scholarship application is that we're looking to change lives. And I think a huge part of that is finding individuals who maybe haven't had any maritime experience or sailing experience, and introducing them to something that could be completely game changing. And that's really amazing in and of itself, because you never know what is actually going to inspire you and what career path you might find yourself on.
Yeah.
So,
and with, I just wanted to back up.
No, go ahead.
And say, like, with, Nini works as a rigger, I work as a captain. I think there's substantially less female riggers than captains in our industry. And so for us kind of coming in and doing this scholarship, socioeconomic diversity is also another major player that comes in. And so I think we're pretty uniquely qualified to be able to, bring mentorship into different types of diversity and create really exciting new careers. And I find that our industry is one where it's valued on hard work, and it's valued on perseverance, dedication, and being extremely adaptable. And so once you apply all of those things, which are things that are very prevalent for youth in care, the sky really is the limit. Yeah.
Now, I don't know anything about that industry, but what can someone expect? Like, what is the day-to-day activities look like for somebody in that industry?
Well, so the day-to-day can vary so drastically depending on what type of job that you're looking to get. And so for our candidates coming in, the initial process would be career counseling. So, between Nini's day-to-day and my day-to-day are definitely very different. And between, you can kind of go in towards the first initial split off would be going between like motor yachts and sailing. And in sailing, it's typically a lot smaller crew. It's a lot more hands-on, and where jobs are kind of shared a lot more. So there's sort of like 4 breakdowns of job types would be like bridge and deck. So getting into like starting out on the deck typically is a lot of like cleaning, chamoising. We chamois a lot.
Polishing.
Yeah, making it shiny, because as my first captain said, you can never learn how to drive a boat until you know how to clean one. Ronnie.
Same to cars as well.
Exactly. I'm sure your kids are out there cleaning the car right now. So that career working on deck would often lead into the trajectory would be kind of from a deckhand to a bosun to an officer to a captain. And then there's the engineering route, which would typically start out in the deck sector as well. And then become more specialized, getting into like a second engineer position, and then down the line, hopefully a chief engineer. And then there's also the interior crew, which would be dealing with a lot of like housekeeping, service, all of those types of things, which are like a lot more detail oriented and creative than are in my possession of skills. But definitely really, really great for high level service. There's also, nannying and all different types of things. And then there's also the galley. So chefing, which also very much works as a mentorship. And so the exciting thing about the maritime industry is that there's just so many possibilities. There's so many cool things, programs, so many different types of travel. So it's like a build your own life.
Yeah, and the cool thing I think that you mentioned is like it comes down to the career counseling and learning more about what the individual is seeking, kind of getting to a better understanding of what their personality is, what they, where they might thrive in the industry, and then building from there. So
yeah,
very cool. That is,
yeah.
It's very cool that you guys are willing to help people out and give them a path to being able to have a successful future. Do you guys feel like that's something you possibly struggled with, and that's why you want to be able to help other people with the same thing?
Absolutely. I think, Lisa's story is a bit more ties into that storyline directly, like her growing up in foster care, but then being able to change her life around to having a successful career. But I think, I had the benefit of having both of my parents around, and I was fortunate enough to have that support. But it's still like I know the value of having mentorship and guidance, and a lot of the people who have influenced me aren't even just my parents. So I know that being able to provide people who don't have that mentorship and guidance with something that could completely change their life around is something that really means the world to us. And so, yeah, like when Lisa kind of presented this idea of saying, hey, instead of a charity where it's like, and I don't mean to put down any sort of charities, but because we're women in the sailing industry, hypothetically, we could be like, let's go raise money for the oceans, but you're not seeing the direct impact of where those donations are going, where this is something where it's individuals' lives that are changing, and we will be able to see the impact. And then, as Lisa always says, quite literally break a cycle of poverty and get people, to a great place where they can stand up on their own, and then hopefully provide that change to other people, and it'd be like a domino effect of how we can, continue to create waves from this. So
that's a very important point, because I've heard many times to create less losers, you give them a skill, and then they'll be fine.
Yeah,
teach a man to fish.
Now, I know obviously you guys had spent the last 3 years trying to raise funds for this specific thing. How much funds were you able to raise for how many people? How many people are you looking to take on?
Well, so the interesting thing about our fundraising was that we obviously had, our campaign saw upwards of $150,000, with the cost of the boat itself costing about $80,000 US. So yeah, all right, it's not a cheap vessel. But we kind of decided early that because that money that we raised, we actually didn't owe anything. So it wasn't any loans or anything. We raised that money, and we decided that, a portion of selling the boat would go towards our charitable cause, so that we could ensure that we actually carry out our mission and as we want to. So we've set aside $50,000 from the sale of the boat to ensure that we can make change and carry out the Bridges Over Water Fund. And then we also are still actually receiving donations via our GoFundMe, fortunately. And so that's the nice part of kind of, achieving something like rowing the ocean, but also having achieved a world record. I think we're actually gaining a lot of momentum towards our charitable cause and still receiving support and donations. And that's really powerful because it means that we have the opportunity to take on more scholarship applicants than we had originally anticipated. So at first it was just like, this is our safety net just in case people don't actually donate.
In case we crash and burn.
Yeah. And then people are like, no, we love you girls. I'm like, maybe, here. So, anyone listening, you can still go support us and go donate to our GoFundMe. It's on our website.
I think we just finished the race. I think we're probably at about 65,000 in and about that in scholarship funds. And then we're looking, the kind of number that we figure for each scholarship would be about $7,000 US as a rough figure. So what we're actually going to do is choose 6 initial applicants because this is a pilot program. And so we have to sort of figure out and see exactly how everything will pan out perfectly. So we'll choose 6 to begin with, but we're hoping to get 10 in the following time. Right now, we're going to be pitching to a lot of different maritime schools because we did have a really successful campaign. Go to them and hopefully get massive discounts on courses and see where we can reduce cost, and then try and get as many scholarships in as we possibly can.
I was like, Lisa hasn't stopped dreaming. We're going to keep dreaming. She was like, we're going to get massive discounts.
Yeah,
I was like,
discounts.
Dare to dream. It works.
I'm a dreamer.
Yeah. It's got us this far.
It definitely has gotten you this far, and you won a world record.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of, I don't know, that's so funny how that happened, because we had kind of discussed it along the way, and then even mid-race, we were like, it's not going to happen, so.
Yeah. Now, you guys, I've seen all over social media that you guys won a world record. What is the world record? Like, what exactly did you row in the the fastest, or what was?
We're the fastest female pairs. But so when we signed up for the race, we were a lot of people do the race as a solo pairs team. You have teams of 3, 4, and even this year there was a 5-man team. So, and they're mixed teams too. You'll have men, women, solos, whatever. So we decided that we wanted to do this as a pairs team. I think just because it would be an easier team dynamic rather than dealing with 4 personalities, which is it's a common thing for a lot of people to do the World's Toughest Row as a 4-person team. It's easier. I think as a walk row, well, not necessarily easier, but physically you have more momentum to the boat, so hopefully you get in faster, right? And then I think as our team developed, we had heard through the grapevine that the women's pairs record might be within our grasp, and the men's pairs record actually stands at something like 32 days. So then our initial goal was to just kind of narrow that gap. And like I said, when we started, even during our fundraising, we're going to push for a record. We're going to push for a record, which I also kind of hesitate to brag about because, now you put that out there for everyone to hear. And if you don't do it, then that's even crazier.
Even
yeah. Then you're like, ooh.
Well, I was like, we want to challenge the record.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but.
Uh-oh.
Then you see people and they're like, wait, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, I lost you as well. Okay.
But
I think you're back.
So, but what's so crazy is now meeting people having accomplished that, and they're like, we're so impressed that you said you wanted to do that and you achieved it. It makes it that much more powerful. But as I kind of skimmed over earlier, there was a moment mid-race where we had no wind, and our estimated arrival time was well past our expected date of trying to challenge the world record. And Lisa and I kind of came to terms with the fact that that wasn't why we had signed up for the row. And And she likes to say how like as soon as we kind of accepted that, the breeze kind of started to fill in again, and our momentum picked up, and our arrival date started to come, like, get a bit closer again. Yeah. And it was just really, it was interesting how that worked.
Yeah, it was like almost like the universe and the ocean were like, you need to remember why you're actually here, and it's not to try and, you know, get some sort of title. It's not to do that. It's to, you know, bring you back into the intrinsic reasons why you're here, and to make yourself stronger, and you're going to be doing this incredible thing. And so, because earlier on, there's a point where I know I'm super competitive. And I was like, record, go, 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 go. And then as soon as we brought it back, then Mama Ocean gave us a window.
Yeah. So it was really cool.
How many days did it take you guys to complete it?
45 days, 1 hour and 27 minutes, which we challenged the previous female pairs record by 6 hours. It's pretty close. If we had gone like less than 3 knots within our 24-hour window of arriving, we would have arrived like an hour late of the record. And that would have been brutal. I think I probably would have been like, okay, well, now we have to do it again.
All right, just shift to go back to the start line.
Yeah, like an hour? Oh my God, that would be brutal.
Do you guys see yourselves doing it again in the future?
I think like I might stick to sailing for a bit now.
Yeah.
It made me really miss sailing. I was like, oh man, look at like those boats with that canvas.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to use their little arms and legs.
Like when you're sailing, if the weather's really bad, like typically you just like make a cup of tea and like look out and go, ooh, that's rough.
Well, let's consider this. If you're sailing and you have headwinds, you can still make forward momentum with the boat. Mm-hmm. Same if it's on the beam. Same if it's downwind. You can basically like achieve forward momentum from any point, unless you're like dead nose into the wind, then you're probably not able. But right. So on a rowing boat, on the other hand, the only like the most comfortable and fastest point of row, like point of sail, is downwind. And like you can make forward momentum with it on the beam. It's pretty uncomfortable. But as soon as that wind shifts around like to the front of the boat, you're like, this is not fun anymore. Which, speaking of, currently there's still like a few boats of the fleet out there, and they are like struggling. Yeah.
And boats are there still.
And it is like the conditions are super funky. I don't know if it's because it's the year of El Nino and we got some weird weather patterns coming over from the Pacific, but it's just, there's this really like strong, if you're interested, there's the app called The World's Toughest Row, Yellow Brick, and it's free to download, but you can go and support the last boats coming in. And there's this 4-woman team. They're about to set a record to be the oldest 4 women to row across. And man, there were 3 miles from shore this morning, and now they're 5 because they've gone backwards. 30?
Wow.
They were like west, aren't they? I don't know. Anyways, they're close, but yeah.
That's crazy. Now, how soon before this race did you guys start preparing for it, like physically?
We've been training for like a good period of time. Like I think it was right around it would have been about the time when we were doing the podcast with you, because I was over in Greece at that time, running a boat. And so I started training with one of the Greek national rowing team training coaches. And so he taught me how to row. And then it was also like I was training super duper hard with him. And then like Nini was working very much upping her gym schedule and then getting ready physically. And then like the last year, we've definitely both been pushing pretty hard.
Yeah, I would say between, because Lisa and I were kind of on the move a lot, if we ever had access to a gym, we would focus on weight training and time on the erg. We would do like distances on the erg, but the best training we got was after having paid off the vessel and training in and on the vessel itself really helped prepare us, especially because we were in the U.S. Virgin Islands and the conditions there. We were like in ocean, like open ocean with like wind and waves, and we would push ourselves and put ourselves out there in unfavorable conditions to kind of like try and better prepare ourselves for being in the middle Atlantic, which, I mean, we had an idea of what we would be up against having sailed across the Atlantic, but it would still, you know, it's a rowing boat, and it's even Lisa would tell stories of like, it's one thing being on like the bridge of like, oh, whatever size catamaran, and like, you know, you're on this massive like sailing yacht, and those waves, you're like looking at them and you're like, that's not so bad, to when you're in a rowing boat and it's like you're looking up at this wave that's like 2 to 3 stories high, and they're like mountains, and you're like, well,
that's a perspective.
Yeah.
So what is your typical diet like? Because I could assume that you're burning so many calories when you're rowing. What kind of things are you consuming on the boat while you're rowing?
Chocolate. Lisa dug into the grab bag like last week and pulled out our chocolate. She's like,
well, so here's the thing. So we had like lots of snacks. It's important to have snacks. I'll get into the food part in a second, but
she did really go above and beyond with food.
Yeah, but so we like pack. We have our daily food bags, and so we want about 4,000 calories per day per person. And so we have like our breakfast and then lunch, dinner, and then our snacks. And then we also had like an entire locker full of extra like snacks and sweets and all this stuff. And as soon as we got out, we both just started getting like the most.
Oh, I lost you guys.
Oh, we're back.
Okay.
But we both started getting like the most intense sweets cravings ever. And so we joke that it's
oh no. Sorry.
The weather's not good here, and so I'm scared about it.
No, for the people,
but
you're
so
in an island, right? You guys are in an island.
But yeah, so we ate like our entire race's worth of like snacks in like 2 weeks, like all of our like chocolates. And
I mean, if we had to stay an extra week at sea, we probably would have been very grumpy with each other, because we were rationing out like the last of our treats, because we had kind of plowed through them within our first 2 to 3 weeks at sea. And then we're like, okay, we need to
reel it in.
We need to, portion out our sweets.
But then Nini was joking about the grab bag, because we have like our ditch bag on board, like a waterproof bag with all of our like super emergency stuff if we ever have to abandon to life raft. And part of the race regulation is you have to put chocolate bars in the grab bag. And so we got maybe like a week out, and I was like, yo, hear me out. We're like within rescue range of a helicopter now. So even if we have to abandon to life rafts, like it's not going to be for a long time. So we eat those chocolate bars or what? It was worth it. So worth it.
But yeah, so like in general, like I do think it's important to mention that, so we're like dependent on eating freeze-dried meals throughout the duration of the race. You bring all of your food with you, and we use a water maker and our jet boil to rehydrate our foods. And when we were training, we kind of like didn't really find a company or brand that we were really happy with, because every time we would heat up the meals, it would kind of throw our stomach off, or like the chemicals or whatever. It just like never really sat well with us, which became a problem, because then you're rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, and you are burning all of this fuel, all of these calories, and there's nothing refueling you and replenishing you. And then you're just, it's just, no. Lisa like deep dived into some research and found a freeze-dried meal company where she ordered all this, all the components of our meals independently. Shucks.
We're back.
But so she ordered all the components of our meals independently, and then we went and vacuum packed them. And and they were delicious. I mean, we had like chicken, quinoa, and feta, and beans, and you know.
My favorite was the Thai rice with, they had this like insanely good pulled pork. And then we started calling it pulling pork. Because pull on the oars.
And the jokes that you have in the book.
Yeah.
Now, I could imagine that when you're in like tight quarters like that with somebody for that long and that long amount of time, I guess that's such a long time to be with someone, and you're doing something that's excruciating. You're tired. You're exhausted. What is your guys' relationship like on the boat?
It was really quite good. I mean, we had, I think, like a day and a half where we were just like, we're just gonna like row and keep to ourselves. That was kind of like mid ocean when it was just like it was really grueling. My back was really sore. We were just like, let's just like take a bit of alone time. But for the most part, we really prioritized each other's care. And that's like definitely a strategy that we had going in. To constantly be like asking the other person, like, are you fed? Have you had enough water? Have you done this? And I think it very much puts you in the other person's headspace and keeps you empathetic. And then also kind of keeps you like as a team, because when you're out there, we rely on each other so much for so many things, even down to like when we're both sitting in the cockpit, like the center of the boat. It's really hard, especially when the sea is rough, to move from either side. So it's like passing each other stuff constantly. Like, okay, so can you pass me this? And then we just like, oop. We're back. Okay. Yeah, so we're constantly like passing each other stuff, and then we have to make sure that like, yeah. We have to make sure that each other are good on
I think I lost them. This is interesting. Okay. Well, this is interesting. I definitely lost them. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if they come back. Okay.
You're back.
You're back. You're back. You worried me.
Sorry.
You left me on the air.
Sorry.
We just like flatlined on a podcast.
Yeah, we were just like, no, this sucks. We're out of here. But yes, definitely we prioritized each other a lot, and because we rely so much on each other, and I mean, our goals are tied in together, and so I'm really proud of how we like really work together and watch out for each other.
I think I actually really like that question because no one's asked us yet. Like people have been like, "Oh, it's so cool, you guys are still friends," but no one's been like, "Did you guys get along?" And
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
What I was wondering, did that time together fortify your guys' relationship? Because it looks like you guys are sitting there having a great time together.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that we had plenty of time to share stories. Like I thought that we were kind of going to be completely like almost like a solo row where we didn't hang out that much. But during the day shifts, we would actually, like Lisa mentioned, we would like either be cooking for each other or whatever. I think there was only one moment like when it was really tough and hot where we got into like a bit of a fight. But the craziest thing is that we were able to recover from that and know also that we were like, well, it's not, we were like, well, we're really pushing ourselves. We're really tired, and, you know, and be able to recover from that and still get along. But we made it, I think some of my favorite things are too, like we would always try and do like a sunset check-in and be like, how's your body feel? How are you feeling mentally? And then we would always, like during our night shift, we would be like, have a good rest, have a good watch. And that was like our go-to like sign off.
Like never go to sleep angry, or never don't say I love you, you know?
But yeah, no, I think we shared more stories, and I think our partnership has like, we were like a team that worked together to take on this rowing challenge. And now we will forever share that with each other. And now we still are working together to try and, you know, develop like essentially Lisa's dream of our mission for the Bridges Over Water Fund. And so the fact that she even still wants me involved, and she's like, hey, I need your help. If you're down to help me out. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And that's like the fact that we're still partners in this business. It's not just rowing the ocean. It's about like, okay, let's make these lives change. Let's keep going.
And it's been quite cool too, because I mean, this whole kind of concept is something that I very much like cooked up. And I was like, I don't want Nini to feel like she's like obligated to just keep doing all of this insane extra unpaid work. But she, I think, has kind of also like fallen like kind of in love with the whole concept of it, because it's beautiful and it's cool and it's unique, and it's not often that you are able to like just change lives in such a really profound way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I kind of want to talk about what it was like finishing the rowing, and then I want to kind of get into the scholarship, and I have it to where we can pull it up on the screen, so for people watching, they can kind of look at it as well, and we can go through that a little bit.
Really?
Now, when you were finishing the rowing, when you're coming towards the end, what was that like? What was that feeling like?
So it was quite crazy, because we had like friends and family and all those people fly in the day before, and it's because you never know when a team is going to finish, and so everybody had already had to change their flights to make sure that they were there when we were arriving. And so we were actually, if we had kept rowing hard, we would have gotten in at like 2:00 in the morning. And so everybody had just flown in and arrived. And so we kind of made a decision together to like, we just let the waves sort of push us, because we had like ideal conditions. And so I remember thinking like, it was, you know, middle of the night, and it was like a full moon, and the conditions were perfect. And we were like coming in, accomplishing this massive goal that we had set for ourselves. And then, you know, had a couple little tears, but I also was very like, this is going to be the last quiet moment we're going to have in a while. And it was.
I think there was something really powerful about seeing Antigua too, because I don't know. So if you saw our social media, there's this video of us leaving La Gomera, and this one video where like there's this thing. Is it called? It's like La Clima or something, or like Calima, and it's like it's literally dust from the Sahara that blows over and just creates this fog. And it's really dense. And so when we left La Gomera, it was like within the first 30 minutes, we lost sight of land. I was like, okay, bye. Like, see you, you know, in however many days. And so we were in sight of Antigua at night. So we saw like the little lights, and then you're getting closer and closer. And I think because Lisa and I both met in Antigua, it's a familiar place. It very much feels like home to us. So, and Lisa hasn't been here in a couple of years. I was here last season, but so I think also because Lisa, like, we would have this really bad habit of like looking at our mileage and the rate we were going, and we'd like sit there and do math all the time, and she'd be like, we're gonna set a record, and then be like, okay, maybe not. Yeah, we are. We're not. And we would do it to each other, but I was like, yeah, so it's a bit of a mind game. But so I was like, okay, I have all this excitement about a potential record, and I'm gonna put it in a jar, and then I'm just gonna release it as soon as we cross the finish line. But there was definitely a moment like with seeing Antigua in sight where I was like, okay, I can allow myself to feel that excitement and a little bit of accomplishment. We're not quite there yet, but like there is like something so rewarding about having land come back into your sight after so many days at sea and just stars and sunsets. And I mean, we saw a bunch of incredible wildlife as well, but returning to land is like, I don't know, I mean, that's the longest stint we've both done at sea.
Yeah.
Not to mention stepping on land was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a video, I think, like, the live feed from Atlantic Campaigns or something, and I stumbled so hard. Like, I kind of stepped off the boat with this confidence, like, yeah, like, just getting off the boat, as you do. And then I almost fell, like, flat on my face, and my dad, fortunately, caught me before, you know, I ate pavement. But, like, honestly, it was, like, I told some people, I was like, I felt intoxicated. Like, it felt like someone had just, like, rocked my whole head. And my legs were just like, you don't work anymore.
And then you get off, and then you like go onto this little podium, and they start asking you questions, and like Nini and I are both just leaning against this wall.
Yeah, they're like with their microphone.
Like,
how was it? How was it out there? No, I'm just kidding.
And we're both just leaning against this wall, like, oh my God, what's happening? But,
super fun. Glad to be back on shore.
Oh
yeah.
Now, accomplishing a world record and obviously accomplishing the row, have you guys gotten a lot of media coverage since then? And have you had like anybody crazy reach out to you or anything like that?
We've both done a fair bit of like media local to like where we're from, and then I can't drop it yet, but we have some bigger stuff coming down the pipeline. Stay tuned.
I'm actually really excited because so here's another funny thing about our row is that because we were training in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we decided to fly the USVI flag, which technically,
Not
technically, yeah, we're not supposed. We're supposed to fly like an American flag, but somehow.
But I'm Canadian.
Yeah, and so she's like, I don't want to fly an American flag. But we're like, no, okay. So we somehow slipped by under the radar and got a USVI flag on our boat, which then the guy who runs
the race organizer was
like,
what is that? We were like, well, I gotta go.
We're like, I don't know, it's there though now, so we're gonna row with it. But anyway, it was really exciting because from our row, the USVI government was like, what, these girls, they're representing USVI, like how incredible. So they have supported us since our accomplishment, and that's been really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, you guys are obviously in the search for people to apply for the program, the scholarship. I wanted to pull that up on the screen so we can kind of go through it. I don't know how much of this you guys want to go over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so it's honestly, David, been a little bit stressful because, you know, I thought it was kind of a build it and they will come sort of thing. And so it's a build it. I think it's more of like a build it and then you have to promote it really hard. And then hopefully they will come.
We just have to find the right outlets. And I think this podcast is a perfect place to kind of like help us like branch off from there and be like, okay, our scholarship application is live. And anyone who is kind of involved in this sort of like field, please share our scholarship application so that we can find people's lives and set them up with job placements and careers, you know?
Because there's no, like, especially for people who aged out, there's no, like, I don't know, like Spidey Sense network. We're just like,
is there one of those where like not people who have aged?
Yeah, people with Spidey senses. Like, I mean, we're just like, you know, like people out in the world, and so to, you know, kind of be able to target that demographic is that is the current challenge. And so we actually extended the application to be open until April 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about this and then also?
Yeah,
I was like, I can't quite see.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up on my phone at the same time so that I can.
Oh, okay. Is it blurry or something?
It's just small on our screen.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can, I don't know. Ooh, girl.
Full screen. What?
Oh,
all right, I got it here too. All right.
Technology.
Yes. So do you wanna?
Me?
I just don't know. Like, so do you just want to hit like bullet point type things, or and just talk about briefly each page? I just kind
Yeah,
of cover like.
I can kind of just like talk through it a little bit.
Okay.
So I mean, the obviously our mission is to bring young adults who have aged out of the foster care system into maritime careers. Young adults who have aged out are exceptionally vulnerable to high risks of homelessness, teen pregnancy. If you look at the rates of post-secondary education or secondary education completion, it's just so exceptionally low compared to any kind of national standard. And the struggle to just reach adulthood can be enough that achieving anything beyond that is kind of a pipe dream. And so that's something that we're looking to break the cycle on. And so our kind of eligibility is young adults aged 19 to 30 years old who either aged out or spent more than 10 years in a social services system in North America. And so that actually does extend to Canada, the United States, and Caribbean countries, because Nini and I have both lived and worked in a number of different Caribbean nations. We definitely, especially Antigua and the Virgin Islands, I'm pushing to have candidates from both of those places too. We're doing some work here locally to promote as well. And so our program is leading into the maritime industry, which has a wealth of opportunity for a wide range of skill sets, including seamanship. There's a lot of incredible professional networking that happens. And then if effectively creating like financial stability is the ultimate goal. And so I kind of developed 4 pillars of our bridge for a bridge over water, which are individual planning and development, education and training, mentorship. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, yeah. And then interpersonal leadership and development. So the individual planning and development kind of gets into the stage right after our applicants are selected, and so they become one of our scholarship recipients. And so we're set up to be able to, as we discussed earlier, go through some career counseling, and then that will then dictate who would come in to be a mentor. And so we have some exceptional mentors who are at the top of our industry, like captains of some of the most impressive boats that have been on this planet are kind of some of our backers. And then we're happy to assist with like logistical support, all these different things, because obviously, I mean, I know I didn't get my driver's license until I was 25. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, I just never really had a chance to, and then I moved away, and then, yeah, having some logistical support, and then getting set up with some mental health support, because it's not lost on us that kind of stepping into an entire new world can be big and stressful and have a lot of different repercussions. And then, do you have any questions? I just realized I talked a lot.
I don't know.
So I think the fund comes into play in large part with the education and training. So like that's where the bulk of like the donations and like I said, the Bridges Over Water Fund, the creme de la creme, is going into learning where that individual wants to kind of specialize in, and finding them the education and training to allow them to develop the skills that they might require to the job placement that they desire most. I mean, to make them well equipped for that job, right? So for instance, as a deckhand, we were discussing how some of the basic training might be an STCW course, as well as either like a day skipper or yacht master course.
Let's explain what those things are.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah. But the thing with boat people is we talk about like everybody knows what the heck we're talking about.
So basically, your STCW is like your basic safety training course where you learn first aid, seamanship skills, your
marine firefighting,
and
personal survival techniques.
And it's like, and then it's like security.
Yeah, security awareness is a different course.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's a course that like everybody who gets paid to do anything on a boat has to have. So all of our candidates would go through an STCW training program. And then a seafarer's medical. Those are like two mandatory things. The STCW is a 1 week course, and it's actually quite fun. You get to like, because you do your firefighting course, so then you get to do like, everybody goes in, you go in with the fire hose, and it's part of the training everybody loves. Except it's always really hot in those boxes.
Especially if you go to the Caribbean.
Yeah. And then, so then the next fun part is like the specific training. So like Nini was saying, for a deckhand, a day skipper course is onboard navigation, building sea miles, learning how to sail a boat. And then we have an educational partner called the Northeast Keelboat Alliance, which is based in like Newport, New York area.
Long Island, New York.
Long Island, sorry. And so their main kind of goals are to provide high performance training for like high level sailing candidates, like kind of getting into more performance sailing, but they're really excited to be able to provide that same type of training to our candidates. And so they'll be able to provide like traditional trades, mile building, a lot of really valuable at-sea training to our deck candidates, which then they can go on and apply towards licenses. People going towards the interior would then get silver service training. There's like a number of different like interior courses. And then our UK-based educational partner, the Crew Academy, will be providing, they have like a whole bunch of different, like wine service, and so they have like cigar selection and guest training programs, and all of these things. All of our candidates will be provided with leadership training from the Crew Academy in the UK. And so the like course part of it, everybody gets trained on what it is that they would like to do. And then I've spent quite a long time building a network of boats and captains who would be interested in providing job placements. So once all of that process is done, and then the courses are finished, then we'll be able to provide job placement assistance, and with a focus on boats who are going to provide healthy mentorship and learning environments. And so once our candidates get into the onboard environment, it's not like mentorship is definitely a lifelong process. And so our program mentors know that you're looking at like a 1 to 2 year commitment in making sure that our candidates are well equipped to succeed.
What is the timeline from start to finish as in going to school and everything for this?
The school section, like the training section, for anybody who would be going to the NICA program, I would guess it would probably be about 2 months, 1 to 2 months with NICA.
I think it'd be longer. I think you would do like the courses, right? The coursework, the preliminary, like STCW, and that's like a week of like sitting down, doing the books. But I think like the apprenticeships and like building those skills, like with NICA in particular, because they're willing to train them not just on like performance sailing, but also like the basics of like boat repairs and maintenance, which is really cool and valuable. And through like an apprenticeship like that, it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months that they're willing to take them on. And that's really cool too, because they also provide accommodation and stuff. So they're awesome. But
yeah, it's quite like we're taking everything kind of on a case by case basis. For example, like interior candidates, all the coursework, like all the training could be done kind of within a month's period, and then be ready to go into the onboard environment. Deck candidates, because it is a lot more in depth in that regard, would be longer, but sort of still like kind of like within, you'd still be like working.
I would say it ranges from the position that's available. So it's going to be something that's either like seasonal, which would be somewhere like 3 to 4 months, or like a temp gig that seasonal position could lead into something that's prolonged. Like it could be like that seasonal position leads into like another year or more, right? But anywhere from like that 3 to 4 months to 6 months as like I mean, the 2 months is like a trial period always. So
yeah, but like, so say from like the time of like getting your application accepted and you're part of the program, I kind of look at it as about 1 month of like getting all your paperwork together, getting ready to go. An STCW is, like we said, a week. And then realistically, we'd be looking at like 3 to 6 months into like a paid job.
Like
hopefully paid
internship type of thing. What is the average pay in the maritime industry?
That can vary quite a lot for entry level positions. So for like an entry level deckhand, stewardess, typically it's about $3,000 to $4,000 per month for if you're working on a charter vessel. And so charter vessel means that the boat is also rented out, and then you would get additional charter tips on top of that, which can be pretty substantial, oftentimes double your salary, or even more. Working on private vessels, you would be getting into like vessels that don't charter will often pay a little bit more, because they don't charter. The owners just use them specifically. So typically about 4,000 to 4,500 would be an entry level. And then moving up from there. So then like a bosun would be typically on about a $5,000 a month salary. An officer on $7,000 to $8,000 a month, on a large yacht. And then captains, you're doing well.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to know that you're doing well. That's awesome.
I work on a smaller boat. I'm not.
I'm sorry.
Not
What? What would you say?
I said I work on a mid-sized boat, so I'm not.
Oh,
but I do all right.
In my experience with freelancing, like the day work, it was like 100. My like starting rate was $150 to $200 a day, and that was that's a day rate, which isn't bad, you know.
Yeah, that's not.
I was happy.
Okay, so as far as this goes, is there anything else you want to go through on the slides? Education, training, you kind of went through that mentorship.
Yeah, I think that's would kind of be that for the prospectus document. Okay. But I mean, I think something that always struck me about the whole like sailing industry is how supported I felt when I came in, because you live on board, you work on board, and so you don't have any expenses, which is really nice. Your food is all taken care of. You have a chef on board to feed you, which is you become quite lazy. Yeah, I got after I was like, I'd taken some time off one time and it was lunchtime and I was like, but how am I gonna eat? Yeah, spoiled, right? But something that always really struck me was, the kind of supportive nature of the onboard environment is a place where, like, coming from not really having a family, I sort of found my family, and I found a very international family. And like, whether you had my background or a different one, like, we have this big, massive international family where no matter where we go, there's, somebody, and you always have support everywhere, and you get to really get involved in other cultures and get to like intimately know so many places all over the world. And so just the opportunities are vast and very cool, and it's the type of job where the harder you work, the better things get. which I think is awesome.
That sounds so amazing. That sounds like a dream job, because it kind of seems freeing in a sense, like being in the middle of the ocean, just sailing, just being on a boat. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of work, but it just seems like there's like a piece to that.
Yeah, it's been funny because I remember I found my start in the sailing industry, and I kind of followed my brother into it. And so with just the two of us, my dad would look at us and be like, what have I done? Like, both of my kids are just sailing around the world. And I'm like, you do realize it's really hard work. Like, you make it sound, remember when there was that fad of people being like, what people think I'm doing and like what I'm actually doing? It's like people think that you're just like in the Caribbean, like living the dream. And then reality is like you're in the bilges, like covered in oil and just being like sweating bollocks. And you're just like, But then you get to poke your head up and be like, I'm in the Caribbean.
It's extremely easy to glamorize anything that anybody does, because it just you see the results of it. You don't see all the work that goes into it. But
absolutely, yeah.
But I would definitely think that like being in the middle of the ocean has to be that's probably one of the most rewarding things about what you do, right?
Yeah. And that's why we both loved this race that we did, because we both just love being in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, there's like a peace and calm and just, I don't know, I think that I've explained this before, that there's, if you have a heart that longs for kind of being in the middle of the sea, there's a part of you that misses it if you've been landlocked for too long. And so, I think I really loved our experience out there, even when we had a new moon. And I've seen stars in the middle of the ocean. I was amazed to be seeing like these stars like just above the horizon line. And it was incredible. Like, and then the bioluminescence in the water. And it's such a magical experience that not that many people get to ever have. So.
Now, this experience that you guys had, did you guys capture it at all with video or anything like that? Can anybody go and see that on your social media? Uh-oh, I think I lost you again.
See, I had this joke with Lisa where I was like, hardest moments to capture, trying to capture the full night sky at sea. Like, how do you do a long exposure? But so there are moments that I'm sure, as anyone will understand, that cannot be captured or will never do it justice, such as the magnitude of the waves, the brilliance of the stars, the colors of the sunrises or sunsets, and as well as like, the experiences of overcoming some of the most difficult and challenging moments that we had, being like brutally beat down by sun or whatever it was. But so, we did our best to kind of document and reach out to social media and just like say, hey, like we're still out here, we're doing okay, and this is the progress we've made. And that is a little bit captured in our journey. And we tried to share like moments of like what we were confronted with like challenges of like boat breakages or whatever it is that we had. But yeah, as far as like those moments of stars in open ocean, there's a little taste of it open ocean wise, but definitely there are some moments that you can't quite.
But we do have social media. We have Facebook and our Instagram. Both of them are at Team Ocean Grown, and it was quite crazy because our Instagram got quite big.
Yeah, we have like almost 20,000 followers now.
Yeah, there's a video that Nini got of me rowing that has like 2.5 million views now.
That's a good one. That one is worth checking out, because it was like a moment where I caught, we talk about getting knockdowns, and like this rogue wave came while she was on the horse. And I think I'm sitting there and I'm like, are you okay? Because you just see this wave like form to the side of the boat and just like rock us. And then you imagine like that was like a calm wave. So when you imagine like a wave or a knockdown where Lisa actually lost like her Helly Hansen jacket and her headphones and stuff. Yeah. And we were like literally the boat, if this is the boat normally with, we were basically like 75 degrees over. Yeah. If not, at like a 90-degree angle, like hanging out like this. I woke up in the cabin, like I was like looking at the ceiling, like, yep, we're gonna rotate, we're gonna roll. And then for whatever reason, we just self-righted. And I was like, okay. And then of course, like the next moment you're like, are you okay? Like, did that just happen? So yeah. But
that's awesome. I am so happy for you guys. I'm happy that, well, first of all, I'm happy that you guys are alive, because I know that's extremely dangerous to go in the middle of the ocean in such a small vessel. And then I'm happy that you guys were able to achieve something so great and be rewarded accordingly, because that's not an easy task to do whatsoever. And it's extremely commendable. And you did it all for the sake of charity and helping other people. And you guys should be proud of yourselves for that. So that is awesome.
Thanks so much, David. I mean, I'm happy we're live and able to join you on here too. So we're like, we have to make it to shore so we can go on David's podcast.
Yeah, I would like to be able to help you as much as I can. So, obviously we can talk about other things that we can do together after this. But is there anything else that you want to mention on the podcast before we wrap it up?
The biggest thing, I mean, especially, well, you say you're proud of us. We're also super proud of you, seeing how far you've come with your podcast, and you do so many cool things within our community. And so for anybody listening, anybody who may have any connections, we do have a very cool, unique, incredible opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives. And so we are open to promotion and if you know somebody who would be good for the
Completely lost them. Let me see if I can get them back. Hold on a second.
You thought you lost us.
You thought you could get rid of us.
Oh, that was stressful. We're like, no.
It's all right.
Yeah, but if anybody knows of anybody who would be good in helping us to promote this, to get people on our application, let us know. We worked really hard to get to the race, and then now we're going on the new adventure. So
yeah, so our application is also accessible at www.oceangrown.co, no M because the M was too expensive for us, /mission. And you can you'll find the application and you just press apply now, and you'll have access to sending your information our way so we can consider you as a potential candidate.
And there's also lots of within the application, there's lots of information about like the different areas of the industry.
Very cool. All that is in the show notes. Just for anybody who's listening, just go there. You can find it. Your website's there. Your social media is there. Everything is there. So cool. Well, I think your guys' internet connection's a lot better now. Your connection is moving and your eyes blinking.
Oh, good. Now that we're yeah, we saved the best for last.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thanks again, guys, for doing the podcast, and thanks again for reaching out. It really, honestly, means a lot that you're like, we should do his podcast again. So thanks, I really appreciate that, and it's cool to see the success that you two have had. So
likewise, we're thank you for having us, and we're super honored to, see how your podcast has developed. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Yep. Thank you guys. Enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. You too.
All right.
All right,
All right.
bye.
You guys.